All right, this week we got my guy, Rob Dauster, back again. Simply because, he was begging me. He's like, Dre, I got to get back on. I got to increase my lead over John. So we brought him back. Hopefully this, keeps him satisfied for a month or so. And then,
I'm up like 3-2 now, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. No, here's the real truth for the people that are listening. Jeff Goodman wanted to come on the show. And I was like, look, we have a certain quality standard that we aspire to at the Field of 68, and we can't have Jeff Goodman's going to bring that down. We can't allow that to happen. We got to make sure Dawkins on Duke stays at a certain level that Duke expect.
Yeah. So let's chat a little bit. Duke finally back after a little COVID pause. Seems like most schools are dealing with it. I don't know how many guys were positive or what, but pause for about a week or so post Christmas break, which is, guys went home, come back testing positive. But came back at home, got the win over Georgia Tech. Never really, I don't know, it
was a weird game,
super
right?
comfortable. Yeah. Couldn't ever really hit that stride. Coach K was kind of beefing with the kids. So, it was a little bit of a strange game.
Yeah, I feel like that's what we see with a lot of these teams that come out of their pause, right? Because they spend what 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 days maybe just sitting in the dorm room, not really doing all that much.
No practice.
Yeah. So you get a little rusty. I mean, you got anyone that played basketball knows how it is, man. Like that first time you come back, the ball just it feels a little different when you bounce it, and it's a little bit more complicated to try to catch something when you're running full speed, or your legs aren't quite there. You go up and down a couple times, all of a sudden, instead of having that burst you used to have, your knee kind of gives out when you go up. Yep. So I get it. I get why there's slow starts. And the one thing I will say about that performance is this: it never felt like Duke was comfortable, but it also never felt like Georgia Tech was really going to threaten them.
Right.
Like it was just it felt like Big Brother kind of bored, holding little brother off when he's trying to reach for the ball. Did I just call Georgia Tech little brother?
I don't know if fans are gonna love that, but
we saved that for NC State on this podcast, right?
Yeah. NC State's definitely little bro. But yeah, I mean, they kept them at bay, kind of like you were saying. I think they got it to win within 6 a couple times, and then we go on a run and get it back out to about 12. I think that's where it ended up being, was 12. But I mean, honestly, I'll take it. Win's a win, especially a conference win. Double figure conference win coming out of the COVID pause. I don't know how many. I think they maybe had 2 days of practice. Which is tough. Like you said, you're not doing it. You may be doing some running on your own, but how much can you really do? Not getting the lift, not getting a chance to get in the gym and touch the ball. So, I'm just glad they were able to get the win. And then
what else is tough about it? It's freshmen that were for the most part, right? Like AJ Griffin didn't even get a preseason, and now I don't know if he was one of the ones that tested positive, but it's now you're asking him to kind of go through that break. Even if he was allowed to come back and work out, he's not doing the 5-on-5 stuff. You're not getting the same level of reps. Like he's still trying to pick up exactly what Coach K wants him to run, where he's supposed to be, how he's supposed to fit in this offense. So that's a mitigating factor. I do want to ask you about AJ though. How do you feel about this dude? Like I think my hot take is that if he ends up being a guy that can get you 12 or 13, be one of your best perimeter defenders, shoot 37%, shoot well enough that you have to run him off the 3-point line, and be what he is defensively. Like you're looking at a team right here, without question in my mind, the most talented team in college basketball.
Yeah, I mean, AJ's been really good since he's been back, and it's been kind of this steady climb uphill for him. He started, wasn't really playing a whole lot, trying to figure it out, which, as a freshman, you're trying to figure it out anyway. And then as a freshman with no preseason and coming off a knee injury and, kind of getting thrust into games makes it even that much more difficult. But, he's from all accounts I've heard, he's been great, with the rehab process and just being a good teammate, even when he was coming back, but wasn't quite back and probably wasn't playing as much as he, wanted to, still being a really good teammate. And over the last few games, you've seen like, that explosiveness is coming back. He's finishing above the rim. And yeah, man, if he can be that guy, who's knocking down shots and, really spreading out defenses, man, it adds, just that one more dimension to the team. And, they even went to that lineup against Georgia Tech where Powell's at the 5.
Yes.
Which is just like, that's tough. That's tough to guard. And it's tough to score against also.
Yeah. And look, the shooting thing is, I don't think that that's something that should be kind of underrated here, right? Like
yeah, for sure.
When you're dealing with a team, one, that likes to run the amount of ball screens that they do, and two, has a guy as good as Mark Williams is that in around the basket, like you have to be able to pull people out of the paint, right? Like Paolo's at his best if you get him the ball 17 feet away from the rim and just kind of say, okay, make something happen.
Yeah.
And he's not going to be able to make something happen if you got guys sloughing off of Trevor Keels and someone's going to be standing at the rim that's guarding Mark Williams because he's not a threat outside of like 8 feet. And if AJ Griffin's not making shots and Jeremy Roach is shooting 33%, whatever, like all of a sudden that lane gets really crowded really quickly. But I mean, if Wendell keeps shooting like this, and I keep waiting for it to come back to earth. Like he's shooting over 40%. He's 20 for 49 from 3 right now as it stands. So he's shooting 41% from 3. I keep waiting for that to come back down, and it just isn't.
Yeah.
So like maybe he's just a 40% point shooter now.
Yeah, I mean, and I think one of the things is he doesn't take a ton of bad ones. Most of his shots are pretty good looks at 3, which helps. And yeah, I mean, it really can't be understated, if you got Wendell and AJ shooting the ball, because that's one of the things, we've been missing at Duke for a few years now is guys, which is crazy. It's me. Which is crazy that when you think about, the best Duke teams over the years always had guys who could shoot the ball. And that's something that we haven't really had for a little while. So it's great to see. And, I'm sure Paolo loves it, gives him a little more space to operate. And it just makes us that much harder to guard. So are you as down as your guy Jeff Goodman is on the ACC? He keeps claiming it's a 1-bid league. I think they'll get at least 2 bids. They're
gonna do enough to get like probably 4.
Yeah,
right. Like there's gonna be enough good teams according to the metrics by the time this thing is all said and done. And I actually think Wake Forest is pretty good, and Miami. I don't know what makes them effective, right? Like they got some good guards, and they play kind of a fun style. And Isaiah Wong, when he gets going, like you can't stop him when he's in a rhythm. But it's not like that's a team that's overloaded with talent. But if they win enough games in the ACC, like if you go 25-7 in the ACC, which is what Miami could end up doing, right? Which is something that Louisville could end up doing. Yeah. Even someone like a Virginia could end up doing something like that. You're getting a bid to the tournament
for sure.
So like I kind of jump in on the 1-bid ACC trolling stuff because it's fun to do because these fan bases are just out of their minds. Like there's nothing better than getting a North Carolina fan all riled up by saying that you think they're going to the NIT or Louisville. Like that's fun to do. And if you put it together right now, like none of these teams have, I'm doing air quotes here, tournament resumes this early in the season. But they're going to get like 3 or 4. Yeah. The thing is, Dre, how many of those are going to end up being like 8, 9, 10 seeds?
Well, there's the question is how many does ACC get to the second weekend? Like you get 4 or 5 teams in, like you said, a couple 8s, couple 9s. You're looking at a lot of Duke will obviously be probably a 3 at worst, more than likely a 1 or 2.
I think they're going to be a 1 seed.
Yeah,
but we'll get into this in a little bit. But I think Duke, everyone's got Baylor number 1 right now. I think Duke is when it's all said and done in March, we're going to be saying like, okay, we need to see Duke play Baylor because those are the 2 best teams in college.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully we get a chance to see it, year after year. They're like dream matchups and, something derails it along the way. But I mean, I think those are the two best teams in the country I don't know if they've like completely separated themselves, like in football where, it's like Georgia and those are the two best teams. But I think there's a little bit of separation where you feel like those two are probably the best teams at the moment.
The reason I say that is like Baylor's performing right now, right? Like we see what they're doing. They're winning games. They got that kind of cultural thing going on. They're coming off of last season's title. I mean, James Akinjo's playing great. They got pros up and down the lineup, athleticism everywhere. So I mean, I get it with them. But then when you look at Duke, like look at the pros on this roster, right? You could roll out a lineup right now. Trevor Keels could end up being a lottery pick. Wendell Moore could end up being a lottery pick. AJ Griffin probably
will be a lottery pick.
Yeah, like going to be a lottery pick. Paolo going to be a top 3 pick at minimum. Yeah. Mark Williams probably going to be a first round pick. Then you add in Jeremy Roach. Then you add in Theo John, who are at worst like veteran role players that are good at the job they're going to be asked to do.
Yeah, and they're going to start in most places, most teams.
Yeah. No one else can match
like
that.
A 4-year starter at Marquette.
Yeah, no one else in college basketball can match that level of talent. Yeah. So when you consider that those freshmen are only going to continue to improve, we have a veteran presence in Wendell, in Theo John, in Jeremy, and you have a guy that is an ultimate game breaker. Like we saw what he did in the first half against Gonzaga with Paolo. You know what he can be when he's getting his electrolytes and he's not cramping up. Right?
Yeah, so absolutely.
They're loaded, man. Like I think. Let me ask you this: you're connected to the Duke program. You have a relationship with Coach K. You play with John Shire and all these guys. Are you kind of getting sick of the whole like let's celebrate Coach K every single time we see him? Because I could tell you, like the nation at large is kind of like, okay, we get it, Coach K.
Yeah,
he's the GOAT and he's retiring. Like we get it. Can we just watch basketball now?
Nah, well, I mean, I I'm a homer. I'm not trying to hide that. I don't think so because he's been so good for so long. Like, we won't see that again. Most of us won't see a guy do that again. And, I love John. I think he'll do well, but I'm probably going to go under on 1,100 wins and 5 national championships. You know what I mean? Like, and because it's hard to, that's so hard to do.
If he's going to be better than Coach K, then John Shire is going to be the greatest college basketball coach ever. And if you're ever setting your expectation for somebody like that, what they have to do to achieve success is to be the greatest ever.
Yeah, it's to be the best of all time.
It's an impossible bar to cross.
Yeah, I mean, I think he should. I believe in giving people their flowers while they're still here, and so. Yeah, I'm all for it. I enjoyed Kobe's last run. He was going from city to city and getting gifts and getting love in all those places. And that's the thing, even with Kobe, like, you never know. So, I think you should celebrate people, while we still have a chance to.
Yeah, and to me, the biggest thing is this: like it's like 2 minutes at the start of the game where they do some ceremony and give Coach K something, right? The only people that inconveniences are like the fans that kind of sit there and watch it. The team warming up while all of this is happening. It's happening on the second center court, and the teams are shooting at either end. The only people that inconvenience, there's no inconvenience. And then during the broadcast, it's going to get mentioned the same way that like Jalen Suggs was a high school quarterback. Is going to end up getting mentioned. It's just one of those things where for all of these all these networks, the first thing that they talk about on the broadcast, okay, Coach K's last season, got to talk about that. Check it off.
Yep.
Kind of a deal. It is what it is.
Yeah. So he's not like, a 350 win coach who's retired. You know what I mean? Like he's got the most wins. He's got 5 national champions. Like I think, let everybody settle down. Let them, we can celebrate them a little bit. And then, after the couple minutes, you can go back to hating them and then calling them names and stuff. And, you can you can still do all of that.
Honestly, that's kind of what I'm going to miss the most about Coach K being on. Not specifically like me sitting there cracking jokes or whatever. It's that you have, I think all sports are better when there is a villain, right? When when the Yankees were the dynasty and everyone was
Mm-hmm.
shooting for them and everyone was trying to take them down. And it was like that for the Red Sox for a while. And that's when baseball was great, when you had this villain that everybody wanted to beat and everybody could target and everybody could go after. Coach K is that guy in college basketball, and not having that kind of iconic presence I don't think there's any way to say it's going to hurt the game.
Yeah,
right.
Because
It's something that can't be recoverable. There's going to be more guys that can do, like if Bill Self wins a couple more titles, like it's going to be him. If Coach Cal can get this Kentucky program going again and win another title, it's going to be him. Like that void will be filled eventually, but there's nothing there in the immediate term. And that, I mean, it kind of sucks, man. Like it's he could say whatever he wants and it's going to get attention. It's going to be something that people talk about. That is good for the sport of college basketball.
Absolutely. Because, it brings, it brings so many eyes. It's like the Conor McGregor kind of effect where it's like, I either love him and, I'm all for him and I want to see him win, or I hate him and I can't, I'm tuning in to watch him lose. Either way you're watching. And it's good. Nobody's gonna watch if they're lukewarm. They're like, whatever. I can take it or leave it. They win or lose, but it's like I want to see Duke lose or I want to see Duke win. And Scott Drew's got something really good cooking at Baylor, but I feel like he's like, you can't hate him. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just
Ted
like,
Lasso.
He's just like so likable, and you're like, nah, it's fine. It's okay if you win, man.
No, I'm serious. Like he's Ted Lasso. Have you seen that? Have you watched that show?
No.
Yeah. So yeah,
I need to.
Your listeners know. Your listeners know. My wife and I went through the whole thing, the whole first season on New Year's Eve. That's how wild our New Year's Eve was. We knocked out the first season of Ted Lasso. Wow,
that's life.
Man. But like, it's just, he's Ted Lasso, just this affable, kind of happy-go-lucky who just so happens to win a lot of games.
Yeah.
But to your point, nobody has a take on Baylor, right? They're Baylor. They're not a big enough brand at this point. They before Scott Drew, there was literally no basketball history that's worth, that's not.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So Duke obviously is Duke, and maybe Scott Drew can get that program there one day, but it's going to take a long time for him to be able to do it.
Yeah, and they need some polarizing players, like Duke. Once we got rolling, 91, 92, we had Bobby and Leitner, who elicit emotion one way or another.
You can say people hate him. You can say
yeah. So
I got a buddy that I went to college with, right? Who grew up in Kentucky, and he still has shirts that say "I still hate Leitner."
Yeah.
Right. Like he has one from when he was a kid that his family say for some reason. They're Kentucky fans, who knows? But he bought a new one when he was older that says "I still hate Leitner." Like he'll wear it when Duke plays Kentucky in the Champions Class, because there's another guy that I played with that is a Duke fan. So like whenever Duke and Kentucky play together, he'll wear that "I still hate Leitner" shirt, and it's just like, no one at Baylor is going to elicit any kind of emotion.
No, yeah, like they all seem like great guys. Like, I don't know, so they need a Leitner. So
let me ask you this. I got a question about this Duke team. What changed with Wendell this offseason? Like, how did he go from being a guy that was one of like the few McDonald's All-Americans that lasted in college until his junior year, into being someone that is very legitimately in the National Player of the Year conversation? I'm not saying that lightly. We did this on Monday, and I had Wendell Moore as my National Player of the Year.
It's hard to put like a finger. It's not just one thing. I mean, I think one thing is like he's more patient or poised. He doesn't force things quite as much. He's not just driving with his head down. And that shows in his assist numbers going, you don't really see guys on the wing, averaging 5+ assists in college. It doesn't really happen all that often. And him shooting the ball well, I think helps a lot, really opens up the driving lanes for him. And even since he was a freshman, like, I played pickup with him. He was an incoming freshman, and he's like one of the strongest kids I've ever played. Like, when he got his head down and decided I'm going to drive, there's nothing we could do about it. So I think just him growing mentally and understanding, when to put the pedal down and when to, kind of back it off and make a play for a teammate has opened up a lot for him. And defensively as well, I think he's gotten, a lot better. I don't know if that's just a focus thing or what it is, but he's been really good on defense as well, and I think that helps. And he plays all the minutes, so which he should. I'm not saying that he's just giving minutes, but just being out on the court, having the ball in his hands, and being more poised this year, I think has led to a lot of good things for him.
So my take is that I think the shooting was a huge thing.
Yeah.
Right. Because look, whether or not he could shoot 50% from three, his game is still going to be at its best when he's slashing to the rim. When you're that big and that physical and that athletic, like if you can get layups are the most efficient shot in the game for a reason. And he's a guy that can get to the rim and get layups. And being able to shoot and having teams forced to come out on you with that size and athleticism, man, like he could put his head down and get wherever he wants to go. I think the fact that he's no longer the focal point offensively has also really helped. Like teams got to pay attention to Paolo, they got to pay attention to Trevor Keels, they got to pay attention to AJ Griffin. Whereas last year it was like, all right, we got to stop Matthew Hurt and Wendell Moore, and then what else were you really worried about?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
There for like 8 games, and then he's gone. So I think that really helps him out. And I also just think like you see it a lot of time with guys where just like the game all of a sudden slows down for them, and it's not just like. I think part of it is just kind of like a mental thing where he's like, all right, I know if I get here, since I'm beating people off the dribble, the help's going to be coming from here, which means that one of those 2 guys over there is going to be open. So I just got to read that defender, and whichever one, wherever he goes, I can make that pass. And it just feels like that part of the game has clicked for him. And I think the fact that he can get by guys a little bit easier because you have to respect the jump shot. You put all of that stuff together, and it works for him now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I agree 100%. So who do you think is the biggest threat to win the regular season in the ACC?
COVID. No one, man. Like I don't see any reason that they should win other than not staying healthy for the whole season. Like, I just don't think that there's very many teams that, like, the 2 teams that I thought would be there are 3 teams I thought would be real threats to them, right? One of them, Virginia Tech, is currently sitting at 0-3 in the conference. One of them, Virginia, is 9-5 overall. They're 3-1 in the ACC, so they've kind of figured it out a little bit. But like, I just don't trust that team. One of them, Florida State, is 1-2 on the year, and they just got blown out. Who did they get blown? I think they got blown out by Wake Forest.
Yeah, they just got killed. Yeah.
And the last one is North Carolina, who, for the record, just lost at Notre Dame last night. So I don't think anyone can really compete with them. There's 2 teams at 4-0 in the league right now. It's Louisville, Miami. And they're fine, I guess.
Okay, so then follow up. What is the what number percentage wise would you put on Duke going undefeated in conference?
Probably fairly low. There's going to be a night on the road where they get picked off by someone. I mean, it's freshmen playing in road environments where there are actually going to be students.
For sure.
You know how tough that's going to be. So there's going to be like some Monday night where they played late on a Saturday and you get a short turnaround, and they had to travel for both the games, and they're tired and they had some exams that day, and these guys don't really want to play. And it's, you're at Georgia Tech or something like that. So they're going to lose a couple somewhere along the line. Maybe you got like 2 guys out because of contact tracing.
Yeah. So over under 1.5 losses in the ACC.
I'll say over. I'll say they'll lose at North Carolina and then lose something random along the way too.
Yeah,
it's probably. I mean, look, the league's not very good, but it's still the ACC. Like when we say the ACC is not very good, it has a lot more to do with what the ACC has been in the past, as opposed to whether or not like all of these teams are not. It's not like the bigger South all of a sudden, right?
Yeah.
it's still the ACC.
Yeah. So for Duke, what do you think? What holes do you think need to be shored up by the time the tournament comes around?
I think they need, like, the one concern I have is kind of depth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're basically playing 6 guys right now, which is not the worst thing in the world. Like when Villanova won their titles, they were basically going like 6 or 7 deep. But it's still a little bit of a red flag if like Joey Baker in year 17 or whatever he's in right now is still like can't get more than like 7 minutes, right? I think Theo John played 4 minutes against Georgia Tech, like that. We don't know who popped a positive, who had to deal with COVID, so we don't know.
Right.
Like maybe he just had practiced one time in 10 days and they didn't want to risk getting him hurt. And we know how good Theo John is, but like I think Joey Baker needs to kind of find a way to be in a rhythm and at least shoot well when he's out there, and but beyond depth, I mean, it's always going to be the point guard play for me.
Yeah.
Like I think Jeremy Roach kind of is what he is, which is like a good, solid ACC point guard. But that's where you can kind of look at this team and say, okay, if someone's going to take a jump, like Jeremy Roach going from being a good starter to being an all ACC point guard is what takes this Duke team, to me, from being like really good to obviously being the best team in college.
Yeah, to no chance. Yeah, to by far probably the best team in the country.
Yeah, because I mean, they got everything else. They got pros everywhere else. They got guys that can make shots everywhere else. So the most athletic team. Like we talked about this in the preseason, Dre. This Duke team can defend at a level that we haven't seen in a long time for Duke teams. Like think about the throwback Duke teams, what they used to do. They get out on the perimeter. They overwhelmed you with their athleticism. They dared you to try to beat them one-on-one. They didn't let you run your shit. And then you got to the rim. There's a 7-foot monster at the rim erasing everything. That's what this team is right now.
Yeah, they're pretty good. So looking ahead, you mentioned Miami, which is Duke's next game. I think that's Saturday, I think that's in Cameron. Yeah, I think it's Saturday at home.
It's in Cameron. Then they got Wake on Wednesday.
Yeah. So 4-0 Miami coming to Cameron. Any cause for concern there, you think? With it only being their second game back off of
I mean, that's the thing. It's their second game back, and Miami, for some reason, I just, maybe this is completely anecdotal, but I feel like Miami always gives Duke a little bit of trouble. Like, is it just, maybe it's just because of the ball screens they run? Maybe it's just they always have good guards that are up for the moment. Or maybe I'm just remembering like 2 random games and it's a fluky thing.
Probably.
Yeah. Remember the year that when Jaleel and Tyus won? Remember Miami went in there and they had, who was it? Like, was that the year they had Angel Rodriguez and he went in there and had like 28 or something like that?
Yeah, and we got blown out at Miami, not last year, but the year before.
Yeah.
It wasn't too long ago. We went down there and laid an egg and got the crap beat out. It might have been last year with Jalen and them.
Yeah, I mean, look, they have some really, really good guards.
Yeah.
Isaiah Wong. If you're an ACC fan and you don't know who Isaiah Wong is yet, what are you even doing? He's a stud. Right? He can go out. He can legitimately go out and get 40 on any given night. We've seen Charlie Moore go out and get 40 on good teams before. He's played at Kansas. He's played in the Big East. Like, he's a good veteran. Another guy, I think this is his 6th year in college basketball. He's been around forever. And Cam McGusty's a guy that averaged double figures in the Big 12. Like, they got really good guards and really good perimeter players. And when you have guys like that can get it going,
you got a chance.
They're always going to be dangerous, right? So I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk. And I actually am kind of buying Miami as being an upper echelon ACC team this year. And if they can keep winning some games, they'll have a chance to get in the tournament. And this is the one, man. Like, look, the thing about Duke this year is they are the marquee win for every single team in the conference.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you know this, Dre. Like, Duke is always the hunted in the ACC, but there's going to be probably 10 games in ACC play this year where they go up against someone who is a quote unquote bubble team.
Yeah, that needs one.
Where they have to beat Duke to have any chance to get in the tournament.
Yeah. Every
game they play in conference is going to be like a tournament game for their opponent.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's already, like you said, we got a target on our back regardless. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be, like you said, a bunch of teams that are 8, 9, 10 loss teams that are like, look, if we can just beat them, that'll get us over the hump, and it probably be true a decent amount of the time. So it's something to worry about, especially with a bunch of young guys who haven't really been in that situation and don't really know what it's like to go on the road against like a desperate team that really needs a win. And, it's like you can throw out the percentages that they've shot all year, guys shooting 20% from three, has 6 threes, like, games like that. So that's probably why I think they'll lose 2 or 3 in conference, just from, there'll be a couple superhero moments, and then maybe we lose at Carolina or something like that.
Yep.
But yeah, that's all I got, man.
Can I give you your thing is all-time Duke teams, right?
Yeah.
Can I give you my all-time Duke team?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
I haven't gotten it from you yet.
I've thought about this a lot. All right.
So starting 5 and 6 man.
Yeah, starting 5 and 6 man. So here's my big thing, right? It's going to be all older guys.
Okay.
Because getting the 22-year-old version of these dudes back when they were able to be there until their junior or senior year is going to be better than the freshman version of anything, even Zion. So
maybe Zion's an exception.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to assume that he would never be healthy, and his. So that's why I'm cutting it. Anyway, I'm going to start with Jay Will.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think it'll work with Jay Will at the 1 because I'm also going to put Grant Hill on my team as well. Right? We'll call him at the 3, but you basically have two playmakers. You can kind of, play Grant at the 1 if you need to, let him be the initiator. Obviously I got to
We're going like high top freshman Grant or
no senior
year PG Grant. Okay.
Yeah. Then you got to get JJ in there, right?
Yep.
Like a dude that can shoot like that, you have to have him out there.
Okay.
I am going to go with Shane Battier.
Okay.
At the 4 for these lineups, just because like he's the piece that brings everything else together on these rosters, right?
Yep.
The
leadership.
Yep. And
defense.
like he doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective, to go out and win, play at that level. The 5 spot is where I kind of ran into some trouble. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take Leitner and just kind of slot him at the 5.
All right.
Play like a spread lineup, which is like, look, we may be taking the older players, but this new version of Coach K, he loves those spread lineups, right? He loves to get
5-out action.
Yeah, get the 5-out action going. And then the 6th man off the bench, this is where I'm picking Zion, because I think that you can kind of plug and play and put him anywhere, right? Like if you needed to, you're going with these small ball rotations, you could put Zion at the 5 and even drop Jay Will, put him to the bench, give him a rest, and let Grant Hill kind of handle point guard duties. Yeah. Shane Battier, Christian Laettner are good enough on the perimeter where you can get away with it. So that's that's my start. Shane on the 3 man. What do you think? Where do I rank in terms of how good this team would be?
Let's see. We got JJ, Grant, Shane, Laettner, and Zion. That's a good team, man. I think that's got to be one of the better teams.
I put a lot of thought into this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know where can you say like, nah, you can't put that dude in, what I mean? Like
that's the thing about picking one for Duke is like we left a couple of like legit college basketball all-time greats.
Yeah. I mean, like you could
list, man, it's Duke.
You could say like, oh, you got to put Johnny Dawkins in there somewhere. But I mean, it's tough. Like picking
Bobby Hurley's not on that.
Bobby Hurley, Kyrie's not on there. Elton Brand's not on there. Bunch of national players of the year. Sheldon Williams isn't on there. Like, but it's tough because it's like, who do you take out? That's a good team, and I think it's constructed well enough. Because Jay, Jay can get a bucket anytime he wants. Good defender. JJ, obviously, you got your sniper, spread the court. Grant can do whatever he wants really on the basketball court. Shane, is your guy who doesn't need the ball, but going to play great defense, get offensive rebounds, all that good stuff. Christian is second best college player of all time at worst, so he's good. And then you got a guy in Zion who we've never seen anything like before. So I like that team. I think you have a good chance of winning 6 games in March.
Now, here's my question: do you want that coached by Coach K or John Shire?
I'll take Coach K.
Yeah, me too.
John's my guy, but we'll give it to Coach.
he's got to win at least more than a game against Boston College before we start allowing.
Before we start getting the comparisons. But yeah, he's doing all right on the recruiting side, so hopefully that translates to.
I was never worried about John recruiting. That he might be the single most likable dude in college basketball. Like I don't think there's anybody that doesn't like John Shire except Maryland fans.
Yeah, well, Maryland fans, and there'll probably be a bunch of people who don't like him after next year. If he starts winning some games, it'll flip pretty soon. Doesn't take long at Duke.
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
But all right, man, that's all I got. I appreciate the time. I'll text John and let him know he's losing in appearances on the show. So maybe that'll get him on soon.
Hey, the best part about it is anytime that he tries to catch up or take the lead, I'll just text you and say, I'm coming on this week.
Exactly. All right, man, I appreciate it.
All right, Dre.
Later.
All right, perfect. I'll